Town Hall in Otter Creek just made a drastic change. Our whole ordeal with Otter Creek all started over water. Water, we need it for life, right? And what they did, Mary, Russ the Sus, Laura Mott, and the other corrupt crew there in Town Hall started charging us illegally, inappropriately, for water that was deemed commercial, not residential. We live on a residential piece of property. Even though we have animals here, this is a residential property as well. Come on, babies. George, we head back to Otter Creek in just a number of days, a handful of days. We taking the chickens or are they staying here?
I'd like to take the little fluffy butts.
So Fluffy Butts are headed back home with us?
Yes.
All right, and the ducks will be waiting for us. What about the peacocks?
The peacocks, the peafowl, they'll stay here.
Okay, so peafowl are all going to stay here. Mr. Cockadoodle is letting all the rest of the chickens know that there's a little bit of extra treats and snacks here. So water. This is all about water. And Town Hall just made the drastic change in regards to our water. Believe it or not, I got a phone call. Here you go, guys. There you go. I just got a phone call yesterday from Belinda, our new bookkeeper in Town Hall, and she said she finally had an opportunity to go over all of the billing and all of the invoices that Mary charged me with. All of the additional fees, claiming that I was a commercial property, all of the late fees, and you know what Town Hall did? Under a new administration of Madam Mayor Therese, under a new clerk, bookkeeper, I don't know what the official title is for Belinda, but she's fantastic.
She's a rock star.
She went back over all of the math and she called me and she said, Jeremy, things have finally slowed down enough to where we could look at your account and you were overcharged this much money. As a matter of fact, Belinda even told me they overcharged me on the security deposit. They charged me $200 for a commercial line security deposit instead of $75 for residential. She said, so you get $125 back for that. I forget what she told me I get back for the water, but Town Hall is refunding me everything. Except George and I just told Town Hall, you know what? Keep it all. It's okay. You see, it's never been about money for us. It's about the principle. They're stealing from the people they've been voted in to serve and protect and actually make healthy, good decisions for, not to take advantage of them. With Town Hall making everything right, George, don't you want to make things right for me now? You said I could get pygmy goats after we got the bird aviary up. I have the shed right here for the pygmy goats. Yes or no?
I did say one day you can have pygmy goats. I just didn't specify when you can have pygmy goats.
So today's not the day.
No.
Well, everybody wants to know, if we're headed back to Otter Creek, are we concerned about our safety with some of the issues that we've had there? It was because of being stalked to Otter Creek that we had to pour tons of money into our own personal security. That's why we live in this place. Hale's Headquarters was the lesson that we learned from living in Otter Creek. So safety is an absolute concern for us, to a point to where we have spent everything we own to ensure that we can never be stalked, built next to, moved in next to. There is no legal way for anybody to ever live next to us here at Hale's Headquarters again. In regards to our safety in Otter Creek, absolutely, we are 100% concerned. But we can also share with you confidently that we have taken the right measures and the right steps to make sure that not only we are safe, that our employees are safe, and all third parties associated with us. There'll be more to share on that, but in the meantime, just know there are civil protection orders already in effect. Going back to Otter Creek is going to feel like I never left, because I feel like I've never even been home to Hale's Headquarters this summer. Just a brief stint of time. And remember, we're still knee deep in a lawsuit, and there's been no negotiations. And all of this is because of Russ the Sus and Mary, Mathis Scary, and Laura Mott, and there's others involved as well. Yet we have no resolution, and we're headed back into the minefield of anything could happen. It's going to be hard to leave this majestic place and to go somewhere that's not quite as majestic yet. And the emphasis is yet. Yeah, we still have plans to build. We want to build our own home on our 70 acres, and we're restoring this old schoolhouse. We want to make it like it was 100 years ago. And we want the community to benefit from that. Otter Creek can benefit from that. Preserving their history right there, centrally, as people will go and visit Cedar Key, which was just devastated by the last hurricane. This is our happy place, but Otter Creek is a happy place for us as well. There's lots of friends waiting for us, and we can't wait to see them again. One of the things that you can expect as we head back to Otter Creek is the lawsuit shifting from against the town with public records to the people responsible who put the town in this position. Russ the Sus, Mary. You've already seen aspects of over 6,000 incriminating emails. Attorney Warm is responsible for all of this as well. And that shift is about to happen. George and I are getting ready to load up a trailer, a 20-footer to head back home to Otter Creek. That's not the only thing that's loaded. You guys still have a ton of loaded questions about this mess. Listen, Linda, listen, says this. You remember that? Listen, Linda, listen.
Linda, you don't listen.
OMG, it's unbelievable the way these meetings go. Well, listen, Linda, listen. There's another meeting coming up in just days. It might be better, Jeremy, that you aren't at all of these meetings. So Russ the Sus and Don the Con keep adding more evidence, incriminating themselves further. Look at this. No joke. Incriminating themselves further. They can't seem to help themselves. They don't seem to care. They don't seem to understand how much the townspeople are seeing of their true mentality and their true colors. Also, a huge thank you, Jeremy, for explaining along with the videos. Part of me really wants to understand what's going on, and the other part of me is saying, why? Well, listen, Linda, listen. George and I have actually talked about that. If we actually stay away from the meetings, will they further incriminate themselves, or is it a positive thing that we're at the meetings? And we've come to the conclusion, when we're in Otter Creek, we're going to be at the meetings. Now, the next meeting is October 10th, and we'll leave it up to a surprise for Don the Con and Russ the Sus if we're actually going to be there. But we've noticed the same thing. Every time we're not, they further incriminate themselves. And they have so much incriminating evidence as it is already. Again, 6,000 plus emails. We've got Russell removing items from town hall illegally. The illegal everything he did, from the resolutions that were illegal, the ordinances that were illegal, weren't signed, weren't in place, going everything against the charter, what he was actually supposed to do. But now he somehow expects Madam Mayor Therese to do what he never did. Can you say corrupt with me? The bills and the paper. Raymond Andrews, Dev, says, a town hall meeting isn't the right time and place for the public to discuss issues with the council? Question mark, question mark, question mark, little O, big O. Don wants it to all go away because if it doesn't stay as an incorporated town, somebody's going to investigate past, how do you say that word, George? Malefice. Malefices, while trying to balance the books. So Raymond's talking about Don just going, hey, every time there's a public comment, that's not the place, this isn't the place. You also had Albert Fuller saying, hey, this isn't the place, this isn't how it works. It works how Madam Mayor allows it to work. If she wants open communication, she can allow open communication. Robert's Rules of Order is just a suggestion. It is not the law. Okay? They're not breaking the law by allowing communication to happen between the townspeople. And Madam Mayor has been very, very open, saying there was no communication in the past, because what Russ the Sus would do, if you said anything, he would, number one, he would threaten to have you removed by the sheriff. We know how well that went for him last time with me, right? Sheriff sit there and looked at him and went, Number two, he would adjourn the meeting right away. He would not let anybody else speak, okay? So, threaten to throw you out, adjourn the meeting.
You forgot sue us.
And then number three, he would yell, sue us.
Before he adjourned the meeting.
Well, yeah, you got to get that in right before you adjourn the meeting. Yeah, that's true. So Madam Mayor's come in and said, listen, we are going to be all about transparency, open communication. And she has lived up to her word 100%. If you could go even higher, 101%. And so this is the proper time for the community to talk and actually know what has happened in the past, what's happening in the present, so they can plan for their future. And hopefully, and I believe it will be, that future can be extremely bright. Andrew Stevens says, was it Russ the Suss's plan all along to bankrupt the town so it has no other option than to be unincorporated? After all, he suggested it 10 years ago. So, Andrew, or was that Andrea? Was that Andrea? It's Andrea. Sorry, Andrea, I apologize. You're forever now known as Andrew. Don't worry.
I'll go by my middle name.
There's a George. Okay. So, Russ the Sus did attempt to petition the town's members 10 years ago. From my understanding, he got 23 signatures for the unincorporation of the town. With the town size of Otter Creek, which is just over 100, it fluctuates right around 100, you have to have over 50. You have, because of our size, it's a percentage, or if you, let's say, it's 10%, right? Or it might be 20%. I can't remember exactly right now. But that means Russell could have unincorporated right then and there if it was 20%. He had 23 signatures.
But was the population 110 years ago?
But the population was a little bit more. So now it's based on numbers. You have to have over 50 signatures on this petition, which puts it on a ballot, and then the town votes on it. So you heard in one of the meetings, Vice Mayor Zim said that, Russell found out he couldn't get it unincorporated. We didn't qualify. That is not what happened. Russell couldn't get enough signatures because Russell doesn't have support of the people. So with only 23 signatures, he had to abandon because he was thwarted in his attempts to overthrow the current administration. And he only wanted to do that because he wasn't the one in charge. And again, you have to ask yourself the question, why does anybody want to be in charge of a town of 100 people? What is this perceived power that they think is so important? There's nothing that is that important. Why are they incorporated in the first place? Water. And that's it. Now, that's important, and we need that for life, right? And we still don't have clean water. Let's give it to somebody who can actually get us clean water. Bronson can. The county can. Anybody but this little town of 100, because it's not happened yet. So his plan was to overthrow and to make sure that nobody could have power and control over him. But the question I still have to ask is, what did he want power and control over? Nobody telling him that he had to mow his lawn? We know that from looking at previous videos. Nobody telling him that he had to clean up all the garbage on his property? We know that from previous videos. He doesn't want code enforcement. The county has code enforcement. Everywhere has code enforcement. It's not only for your health where you live, it's for your neighbor's health. And so if you're on the side that says, well, no government should tell me what I should do and can't do with my property, great. Go live somewhere in the woods where nobody can see what you're doing. You're living smack dab in the middle of the town with garbage everywhere, affecting everybody with what garbage does to people. There's a reason why we have health codes. It's not just for you. It's for everybody in the town. Tracy wants to know if the town does unincorporate, which is a thing that could truly happen. It could get signatures here really quick, and it could be on the April ballot for the next election. Does the lawsuit go away? And Tracy says, have a blessed day. Tracy, the only way the lawsuit goes away is, number one, we can negotiate, myself and the town, and we can settle. And therefore, it doesn't go to court, we settle, and usually that's a monetary amount. I'm not looking to do that, nor is the town, okay? Number two, I drop it altogether. I go, you know what, this isn't even worth it anymore. This has cost me tens of thousands of dollars, which it has, and the principal isn't worth it anymore because it's costing me all this money just for the principal to make sure this never happens, because people shouldn't be stealing, government shouldn't be stealing, there should be no corruption, and the principal isn't worth me having to put $50,000 into fighting it. And so I just go, I'm dropping it. That ain't gonna happen either. The other way it goes away is myself, the town, we go to court, and then the judge or a jury, if it goes to a jury, or the judge determines, all right, guilty, not guilty, settlement, no settlement. In other words, there's a conclusion in court. Pretty much that's the only ways that it goes away. Unincorporating does nothing in regards to the lawsuit. The parties that are responsible for what they did will still be held responsible for what they did. Richard wants to know what's going on with Mary Mathis-Scary accessing all the bank accounts, why she's no longer an employee. Richard says, what's happening concerning Mary accessing the town's bank and getting a new card issued to her name? And has the police been contacted by the town for any monies that she may have stolen after the date of her retirement/firing? And let's keep in mind, it was a firing. When you're told you are in a world of hurt, we're going to let you go ahead and resign, you're being nicely fired. The terminology means very little. She was fired, okay? So what's happening? Number one, we know that Levy County Sheriff came to Town Hall because this was public and gathered up information and evidence in regards to all of this. I do not have any further follow-up from Levy County Sheriff's Station as far as what's happening with that. We also know, because this was made public as well in the meetings, that the Attorney General is involved and is collecting information and evidence as well. So we've learned that. Now, remember, under an investigation, they're not going to tell you where they're at, what's happening, or anything along those lines. They don't have a YouTube channel that daily blogs their life and goes, well, here's where we're at in the investigation. We're stumped on this part, but we're making progress. You know, it's not going to happen that way. The law is a lengthy process, but it is true in most aspects, and meaning it will come to a conclusion. So will she be held accountable? Yeah, I absolutely believe she'll be held accountable. Am I the only one in town with a 2-inch meter?
There's one other.
Who's the other?
Oh.
Kevin says, love the videos, Jeremy. And he says, is it possible that Russ the Sus had a deal worked out with his son to get more money from the county if the town would unincorporate? Just an idea, bro. Keep up the great videos. So, Kevin, I believe what you're talking about is 10 years ago when Russell was trying to get unincorporated. I believe that was just completely and totally out of spite. If anything, being a town would generate more income from the county. So if Russ the Sus had any deals with his son being a county commissioner, he would want the town incorporated so that money could flow. And yeah, that's a way that you could hide money, you could wash money. There's a million different accounting things that you could do illegally in that process. Now, I have no idea if the county commissioners are corrupt or not. And frankly, I don't want to get involved. I've said this in the past, I'll say it again. They haven't involved themselves directly, therefore I haven't involved myself directly. People have given me a ton of information on the county commissioners and what they consider corrupt. We haven't shared it yet. And to this point, I have no desire to. I never wanted to get involved in the corruption of Otter Creek. Otter Creek pushed me. And then they cried when they got shoved back. And they were warned. And they were told, if you don't do the right thing, this will be all over the internet. And yet, they still did it anyway. So I don't think there's any shady dealings with a town unincorporating with the county. The commissioners probably are thinking, you know what, we really don't need one more small town calling and complaining about the roads and the lights and the signs and the plow. Wait, they don't plow. Oh wait, that's why we go there during the winter. No snow. Boadicea 97. You think I said that right?
Yeah.
Really?
I think you nailed it.
Okay, Boadicea. That is a heck of a name.
Or
right
it could
there.
Be.
Baudiayo. My question is the former building guy who stepped down, is there some kind of conspiracy with Sus in trying to stop Zim from building? And where was this guy during Russ's administration, commenting and questioning? Seems so strange and vocal now. It's a question. What's your opinion on my observation, Jeremy? Am I overthinking it, or is there a nugget there? Not saying I disagree with his observations, but why the push now? All right, Boadicea, you hit the nail on the head. George said, I nailed it, you nailed it. Albert Fuller was the planning guy that Russ the Sus brought in. And so there was personal vendetta against Russ and Zim. Now, Albert Fuller has married into the Strong family. The Strong family is neighbors to Zim and actually has a triangle piece of property that comes into Zim's acreage.
It's vacant land.
It's vacant land, but there's tension there. I mean, when isn't there tension with neighbors and boundaries, right? If we didn't have neighbors, we wouldn't need lawyers, right? Lord knows that's true for us in Otter Creek. So there is tension with Zim and the Strong family. Zim wants to create a RV park, and there have been people who have said, what, another campground in Otter Creek? That doesn't seem too smart. Are you kidding? Do you know anything about Florida? Do you know that would fill up immediately? You couldn't have enough campgrounds in Otter Creek. They would fill immediately. It's a great business plan. It's great for Otter Creek. It's great for Florida. And it's great for people who want to actually come and visit Otter Creek. And so, yeah, there's tension there between neighbors. And then there's tension with Russ. Russ doesn't want anybody coming to Otter Creek. He wants everything hidden. He wants everything the way it is, the way he done did it. In other words, he wants that corruption behind the scenes, backdoor, nobody shedding any light on it whatsoever. Except now, the whole world is seeing it, especially you. And Albert Fuller now speaking out. Why now? Of all times, why now? Sharon wants to know about the computers being purchased and the backup plan being purchased, which you know Don the Con has major issues with. And yet he didn't have a major issue when Mary spent $1,200 on a printer. Not a problem. Wasn't in the budget. Not a problem. He voted for it. He okayed it. Not a problem. But now that they want actually good computers, which again, I have when Mary was in there, I offered to donate computers if they needed it. Now, you made this right, and I had her record for my protection, but I'm gonna tell you, I'm not going to utilize this. You made it right. And I did all the background work that I needed to do beforehand, but you made it right, so nobody's ever going to see this. I'll hold on to the video to protect myself, but you made it right, so don't worry about it being online. So Sharon says, why can't they just get a cloud service, back it up there, save a ton of money? I don't know. I know I don't use cloud servicing. I use everything on external hard drives. As a matter of fact, I'll show you what I use right now. External hard drives that we can take anywhere. Power goes out, doesn't matter. Internet goes down, doesn't matter. No working parts. As a matter of fact, it looks just like this. We plug it into the laptop. So we use external hard drives that have no working parts that can't fail. There's 2 terabytes of information on here. And as you see here, it's faint now, but this is our YouTube library for 2023. This is our YouTube library for 2022. This is our YouTube library for 2020 and 2021. So we can take these anywhere and everywhere, and this will be 2024. And software, from what I understand, you can't use on a cloud service anyway. So what would be most important to me is I always have all my information with me wherever I go, no matter what's happening to the internet. That's why I use these. This is the most important thing to us for backing up information. But again, remember, we're not town hall. We are business. We are content creators. We are, well, honestly, we do more than town hall. That's not to make light of all the work that's being done in town hall. Madam Mayor Therese, Belinda, others are doing an incredible job there. It's just volume. Volume of work at town hall and volume of what the Hales may differ. And what the Hales work may be so much less than some of you. Your volume, if what the Hales is here, your volume may be like this, your responsibilities. We get it. It's all perception. And we're thankful for those who are serving so faithfully in town hall now. AB-ET 1 UG says, Mr. Fuller, have you ever offered to help, assist, or just inquire with the mayor during business hours, or you just choose to grandstand and bloviate? Have you ever seen that word before? Bloviate? I don't know what that word is.
That's too fancy
that
for me.
That one is a big word. I don't know that word. I've never seen it before. That might be, I just don't know.
Do you want me to Google it?
No, let's not Google it. We'll just keep on going. We'll pretend like it's not there.
I can hop on the Google
We'll
machine.
just go grandstand and lectures at monthly meetings. Who's pulling your strings? Who's the puppet master? I smell a...
Mole.
Oh, moles are in. That's a rat. Turtles are out, moles are in. So to our knowledge, and we don't know, we haven't asked and nor has it been shared with us, and it's not something that would be a public record request to say, hey, has Mr. Fuller offered to come in during business hours to help? We don't know, but our best guess is no, that hasn't happened. And our follow-up question is, will he be at the next meeting? Because it's interesting to us, while we respect him tremendously, he shared that it was an inconvenience many of the times to actually go to the meetings when Russell had him on the payroll. And he literally would just sit, and sometimes you could see it in his face like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe what I'm witnessing. But he never said anything. But since then, Madam Mayor Therese is in charge now. He's been at every meeting.
Including the special meeting.
So it's interesting to know, will he continue to show when it was an inconvenience before? Now, I do believe he has interest because he's married into the Strong family. The Strong family has property in Otter Creek and neighboring to where Vice Mayor Zim is building an RV or a campground. So it'll be interesting to see if he's at the next one. And will he see us there? American Classic Channel says if they just want a server to store town hall documents, wouldn't a simple 2T USB drive work? I don't see any need to pay a monthly fee for off-site server or even on-site server. American Classic Channel, that's what we just showed briefly ago. Exactly what you mentioned. That's what we use. No monthly fees whatsoever. About $200 for the external hard drive. It can't break down. There's no working parts in it. But I understand the need for it to be somewhere stored secure. Let's say that USB drive gets stolen, misplaced. I mean, look at what Russ the Sus has already done, taking items out of Town Hall. Matt wants to know, is it legal for a council member to make a bet? What, you mean this, Matt?
I'll bet you $50 it'll pass any test you put it through.
He better pay up, Matt. That's what I'm going at. When I'm there again, I'm going for my $50. You think I'm joking? When it's public speaking time, when it's public comments, first thing I'm doing is playing that clip. $50 bet, and I'm there to collect. James Richard Smith wants to know, when is Russ the Sus going to be criminally charged? Again, I can't answer that. And nobody in Otter Creek can answer that, from my understanding, because they're not the ones that can actually bring the charges against him. So you have the local sheriff involved, you've got the state involved, it's all on them. Now, we all want to see it immediately. I mean, it'd be great if he was jailed, hauled off, gone, no more interruptions in the town hall meetings, no more nose picking and then wiping it on door handles. I mean, the cleanliness of the entire town is going to go up with him gone. Stacy says, I can't wait to watch this cluster something. I don't know how to read stars
Symbols.
And pound symbols. That is going to happen. It's like watching a train wreck. You just can't turn away, LOL. My question is, why are Russ and Don still on the council? They obviously are out of control. They don't want to see the town grow and thrive. And Russ, after the damage that man has already done, he should never be allowed to be a part of anything in Otter Creek anyway. He should be in prison with Scary Mary. The corruption there is unbelievable. Stacy, yeah, absolutely. So why are they still on the council? Okay, so number one, they're elected officials, okay? So when you have a vote, well, let's back up even further. When you're a town, you legally have to have a town council. So these are council members. Those council members must be legally voted on. Now, in the charter, which is the guidelines for how our town operates, it states there's 5 council members. Okay, a town of 100 people, 5% are representing the 95%. Now, you may be thinking, okay, well, why don't we get some new blood in there? Somebody better. Nobody in their right mind wants this kind of position. Nobody needs this drama in their life. And so the only people that want to be a part of it are people who want to use that power. Again, I use that term so loosely, for their own benefit, not for the benefit of the people. Until it gets to a point where people are crying out for change, like you saw, and now all of a sudden Madam Mayor Therese is in there, and then you have Vice Mayor Zim is in there, and you have Gail is in there as well. And they're creating positive change for the town and for the people. So they're representatives that are voted on by the town's members. And the town's members didn't know all the corrupt things that are happening. I guarantee you they're watching now, and they're seeing it. And they're probably the same as you. It's a train wreck. They can't look away. And this is where they live, right? This is their life. But they're not believing it either. Like you said, this is unbelievable. It is unbelievable. Unless you're seeing it in first person, real life, in front of your face, you still sit there and go, I cannot believe this is happening. It's like stalking your favorite YouTuber, buying property across the street from them, begging them for money, not getting it, and then self-incriminating yourself all over the internet, and now you're in big, big, big trouble. Carol wants to know, is Russ reading a book or a magazine? Carol, I want to know, who told you Russ can read? Stacy needs a little help. She says, I got another question. I can't tell who's worse. Is it Russ the Sus or Don the Con? Somebody help me, please. All right, let's see. This will be Don. This will be Russ. All right. Russell illegally keeps Don the Con out of a meeting. All right, so that's one against Russell. Russell is completely and totally corrupt and gives no financials. Neither does Mary during meetings with Don the Con. Don the Con has no concept of reality and interrupts and votes no against everything with the new mayor, who Don and Russell used to be like this, but now they're like this. They're like this, Don and Russell, okay? Russell steals items out of town hall, and Don is glad that neighbors are giving it to Zim in town hall. Don makes an illegal bet during town hall. Russell tells the people to sue him. By my count right now, it's a 4-4 tie. George, you can be the tiebreaker. What do you got?
Let's see. Don will do the second motion on something, but then ex-nay it.
Okay, that's a handful of 5 for Don.
Russell will announce that he's recording as a public official, that he's recording the meeting, thinking that it's for his personal use, when it becomes the property of town hall.
That's a handful of 5 for Russell.
Let's see.
Guys, it's a tie. We all need some help. T. Hughley wants to know, why is the town so against RV parks? Well, T, let me try and explain it this way. I don't think anybody really is against anything. I think people are against people. So you have an individual who doesn't like another individual, and this other individual wants to build an RV park, and Russell's against it. Russell's against Zim because he wants to build an RV park. He's not against the RV park, he's against Zim. Russell is against Brett because Brett owns an RV park with his wife, Madam Mayor Therese, which they've done a phenomenal job in creating a beautiful atmosphere of peace and rest and solitude and a good community for people in Otter Creek. So Russell's against them, not necessarily the park. Because Russell wasn't against the park when Wayne owned the park. And I'm sure Wayne and Russell butted heads at times as well. As a matter of fact, Wayne has told us as much. But it's people versus people, not typically people versus things. If you're on the right side and you're the good old boy, old buddy system, then you're okay with the person in charge. If you're not on their good side, well, they're going to do everything they can to make life miserable for you. If the Strong family was ready to build an RV park, that little corner that comes into Vice Mayor Zim's property, I bet you Russell would be 100% for it. Sherry Lawrence wants to know, why does Mr. Fuller have so much to say trying to direct this new council, but didn't have anything to say about the wrongdoings of Russ the Sus during his horrible, look at this, horrible reign? Russ the Sus. Man, Sherry, you are on it. because Mr. Fuller didn't say anything. He hasn't said a single thing against Russ the Sus and his terrible reign in these meetings yet. So why is he talking about the new council, but he has nothing to address by the old council? What does that tell you? Maybe he's watching the videos with the rest of the residents of Otter Creek, and he'll have answers at this next meeting. Just as a reminder, because some of you are still confused, the gentleman who came in with a $6,000 water bill, which was sent to him under Mary Mary's reign and Russ the Sus, that is not Mr. Fuller. Mr. Fuller does not own property in Otter Creek, to my knowledge. Dobert Baloo says, so why is a non-resident being allowed to be so involved in Otter Creek business? You have to understand that any town hall meeting is open to the public. Baloo, Bear, you can show up. Nobody can keep you out. So you can't just go, okay, well, only Otter Creek residents can show up. That's not legal. It's an open forum. It's open to the public. And anyone is public. If you live in Otter Creek, you're the public. If you live outside of Otter Creek in the county, you're the public. If you live in Florida, you're the public. If you live in Georgia, you're the public. If you live in Ohio, you're the public. If you live in the United Kingdom, you're the public. Anybody can show up. And public comments are just that. It's an invitation for the public, which is everybody, to share their comments, their concerns, their questions. Joe Barrett says, hey, have you thought about the consequences of unincorporating? If memory serves, doesn't Russ have a son that is on the county somewhere? Wouldn't he pull strings for his dear old dad at that point? And you and the town would have no power to fight it. Just a thought. Maybe get Russ's son voted out of the county first, then unincorporate. This way, there's no one in a seat of power that would have a person interested in the decisions of Otter Creek. All right, so yes. Who are the family serving on the county seats?
From our understanding, there's 2 men that serve on the Levy County Commissioner seat. That would be Rock Meeks, which is Russell Meeks Jr., his son. And then there's John Meeks, from our understanding, is Russell Meeks, the former mayor's cousin.
Okay, so can they pull strings in regards to unincorporating? I understand where you're going with that, but if we're unincorporated, the county can't just come up with outlandish, crazy stuff. I mean, there's county statutes and laws that not only Otter Creek has to follow, everybody in the county has to follow. So it's not like they can isolate Otter Creek and go, only Otter Creek can do this. And I don't think that the entire commission can pull strings for dear old dad. As a matter of fact, I mean, I think I said this already, I think it makes it harder for those things to happen. I think it's harder for corruption. I think it's more difficult for backdoor deals and behind, secret meetings and things along those lines. So again, I think unincorporation is the smartest thing that a town like Otter Creek could do. Trude says, in regards to Albert Fuller, saying trees is the worry? What about the walking trash? Russ, Don, Lynette. What about the trash that's all over the ground on people's properties? The wildlife that we should be thinking about. Now, I love trees. George, we have easily, I've told you multiple times, mature trees just on this property. I could harvest some of the mature trees. I could bring in $150,000, $200,000 just right now if I were to take down the trees. And what do I continue to tell you?
You point to every single one and you're like, this is my favorite tree. Even at the Florida Ranch, you point out your favorite palmetto tree. Every single one is your favorite.
So I don't want the money. I want the trees. I love God's creation. I love nature. And I believe that we have a responsibility and a stewardship of it. We shouldn't have garbage all around it. We should manage it, and we should bring creativity from chaos of it, pulling weeds and making it beautiful. As you see, a beautiful Japanese maple behind us. So many people have asked, what is that tree right next to the waterfall? That is a Japanese maple. And you see waterfalls and rocks and stones. From all that chaos, all brought together to make beautiful landscapes. We should care about our environment. We should care about nature. And we should invite others to actually care with us. That means picking up all the garbage and removing garbage from Otter Creek. And yeah, that means some of the people too. Juliet Morgan says, I don't know how these lovely people have lived like this for so long. I could hear the stress coming from that man's voice with Don. She's talking about Carl Hughes, okay? And it made me extremely sad when you have a bad neighbor that's making your life miserable, and then that same neighbor is on the council not doing anything but arguing. You're in my thoughts and in my prayers that this will get better and these people are dealt with in the proper manner. Again, Juliet is talking about Carl Hughes. And Carl has been a long-standing member of Otter Creek, and he's doing something about it. As a matter of fact, he and Deanna, Flippin' Adventures, have actually put together a community event for Otter Creek, and it's coming up in just a matter of weeks, October 21st. From 7 a.m. to 3 a.m. at the schoolhouse. You can find it pretty easily in Otter Creek. It's going to be a full day of bargains and family fun. There's going to be candy and games for the kids, dressing up. There's going to be area to actually donate to Cedar Key Pantry and disaster relief because of the hurricane. This is going to be multiple vendors, food. Probably my favorite thing is we are going to get Mary Mary's. Recipes are scary. We're going to get the French toast casserole on a stick. You're going to be able to get French toast casserole on a stick at this community event. And it's Carl who is actually putting this all together. Not Don, not Russ, not Laura Mott. It is Carl, a member of the community, standing up and saying, I want to do something. I want to be better for myself and for my family and for all of my neighbors. And he's putting on this entire event at the schoolhouse October 21st. Make sure you show up. Support Otter Creek. Lucille wants to know if Otter Creek unincorporates, are all the people going to have to drill new wells? No, we already have city water. The county would just come in and take care of that. Or another town that is already, on city water as well. Again, I say city, town. You understand there's a different definition for a city. It's based on population and size than it is for a town. So the town has not city water, but town water. Another town easily could come in. And for example, in Otter Creek, Lonnie is the individual that does all the chemistry and cares for our water. And he does that for neighboring towns as well, and potentially cities. So I don't think any of that changes at all. No new wells, although many of us have them. Bobby D. It's Bobby D.
Yeah.
La 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 la
Da 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 da.
la 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 la
Da 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 da.
la 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 la. Me and Bobby D.
I thought it was McGee.
Oh, okay, McGee. Where's Bobby? Okay, Bobby D wants to know, Jeremy, what would happen to the money and the town that has on hand and the buildings now owned by the city? Would it all become county property? To my understanding, number one, you cannot unincorporate if you have debt. Okay, so Otter Creek does not currently have debt. They are on the verge of bankruptcy all the time. So my understanding is everything goes over to the county. I do not know that 100% for sure. What would stop the town from going, hey, we're just going to take everything we own, we're going to put it up for auction, and then the county gets the money, or we're going to give it to another town, or we're going to invest it into cleaner water. So I don't know what that process looks like, Bobby D. Me and Bobby D. Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
remix.
Joshua has a question about the water line coming from Bronson going to Cedar Key, which is even more important now as you see the hurricane has hit and the water line will come through with sewer. We don't want sewer in the Gulf, right? And so it's important to flush all that inner towards the state, not out into the water. Again, stewardship of nature. He says, my question is, if the town unincorporates and the county takes over and they have the water line going through, how's that going to affect you all down there? Well, really, it's not going to affect us. The water line's going to go through no matter what, and therefore it would feed us water and sewer. So that's all a positive thing. Unincorporating shouldn't change any of that. We should all still be able to hook up into the line, and it would be mandated once the line comes through It's a mandate. You have to hook up into the line. Again, that's for the health and the wellness for all the residents. And are there going to be individuals that go, well, I just put $10,000 into a new septic bed. I don't want to hook up to sewer. Yeah, there's going to be people like that. But mandate is a mandate is a mandate. You got to do what you got to do. Gail wants to know, if they unincorporate, will you still film the crazy pound sign stuff that goes on? Or are you just going to show the beauty of the town? Well, Gail, you have to keep in mind, what George and I do is we film our lives every day. It's a daily vlog of our lives. And so if you interact with our lives, you're part of that daily vlog. Now, there can't be any crazy if there's no town halls, but there could still be crazy with residents. I mean, come on, you know it. It lives right across the street from us. It stalked us to Otter Creek. So, yeah, if there's crazy stuff happening in our lives because individuals that are crazy choose to continue to interact with us in our lives, it's going to be recorded. But you're not going to get a town hall meeting anymore. You're not going to get fights and arguments with Don and with Russell. And I'm sure these individuals will stay as far away as possible from us. But there are some that just can't stay away. They love the attention. Jackie says, if the town does unincorporate, does that mean Richard loses his job? Well, it definitely means every single council member loses their job, including the mayor. There's no need for a clerk anymore. There's no need for a bookkeeper. That doesn't mean that the county doesn't say, hey, we want a maintenance man. But probably 99.9% sure, because the town no longer employs anybody. There's no need for the town to employ anybody. Richard could then submit for a job with the county if he wants to continue to keep taking care of things, if the county wants to hire him. But as far as the town's no longer an employer, and therefore the town has no employees. Thomgill, at least I think that's what the name is, Thomgill says, why are you telling them you're requesting their text? Can't they just delete it? Yeah, you can delete anything from your phone. It doesn't delete it from the carrier system. I don't care if they know. I want them to know I'm coming after their text. I want them to continue to do stupid and foolish things and try and delete it. There's no way of deleting what's been on their phone. Once that information imprint has happened, which it has, it's always there. All it takes is a lawsuit, and it takes a subpoena to get it from the carrier, whether it's Verizon, whether it's Straight Talk, which uses Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, you name it,
It goes into
it
the
exists.
cloud.
Remember the cloud we've been talking about? Well, apparently that thing's a real thing. It's servers in there. It never, ever goes away. It's there forever. Angela says, all right, I've heard how much unincorporating would be a great thing. Any benefits to staying incorporated? I mean, shouldn't there be a pros and cons list both ways to go forward so people can see it? Okay, Angela, let's think really hard. What are the pros of staying incorporated? All right, so the one pro of staying incorporated is you have control of your 100 people with permitting, with
Billing.
it's not even a billing issue. That's it. You have permitting. You have permitting for building. That's it. If you want control of that, that's a benefit. What are other benefits? I can't think of any. I mean, the only benefit is control over building. You get to control, yay or nay, what happens in your little town, and it is a little town, versus the county controlling, yay or nay. And the county is part of the permitting process anyway. So the county already has a hand in the control. So really, why do you need two hands in the same pot for control? That is the only pro that I can think of, is you have control. But is it really you, Angela? If you stay incorporated, you're giving control to Russ the Suffs. Do you think he has your best interest in mind? Now, I'm not saying the county has our best interest in mind either, but I'd rather put my money on the county having more of my best interest in mind, because they have to be accountable to the entire Levy County and not just 100 people that have no clue what's happening in Town Hall in Otter Creek. So if you go, all right, the benefit is control of what happens in our town, that question has to be asked, who has control? Because control can lead out of control really quickly with corruption. And that's what you've seen happen. So control can be a positive thing that turns really negative really quick with the wrong person.
requested a 2-inch meter.
No, it got changed.
Your plumber called me personally.
Deborah says, aren't you afraid Lynette will hunt you down while you're in Ohio? Well, obviously, we've taken our fears and added security like crazy in Ohio. So there's a tremendous amount of security. But also, we've moved forward things legally for protection as well. So there always is a fear of an unstable person doing unstable things. But we can't live our lives in fear. We must move forward in a positive direction as well. We can't always be looking over our corner going, who's stalking us? Are they there? What's going to happen? And if that does happen, there will be proper consequences for that individual and others. Mike Calhoun says, stop. He goes, if you convince the people to vote on becoming unincorporated, we lose our entertainment. Well, Mike, this has not been entertaining for George and I at all. It's been a rough go, and we have never wanted to be a part of anything like this, nor do we ever want to be a part of anything like this again. This is a once-in-a-lifetime thing, and we don't want to continue to show it. We want it resolved, we want everything to be better, and we want to move forward in life.